Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. Repost. My cheating SDBXW confuses the hell out of me. I originally posted in the relationship section, but it was advised that I move it here instead. In response to my post there, I got some comments and I'd taken on board a lot of constructive advice about what I did wrong and how I might do better in the future. Aside from that, I've gotten some advice on how to deal with my wife and get to a position where we can be wonderful co-parents, but I'm still unsure of how to go about doing so. In my opinion, I'm still attempting to determine what to do next. The original article was written as follows, and as a result, I'm truly bewildered. I've read a great deal on these sites over the course of many days, yet I'm still a bit befuddled. I just found out about my SDBXW infidelity around 7 months after it happened. I had to go through all of the heartache, denial, misery, and pick-me-up attempts that were necessary. I suffered from severe depression for a long period of time. I never challenged her, but I was a total mess. She had to have been aware that I was aware, didn't you think? I believe she just didn't care, or at least that's what I believe. I was through with it all around 2 or 3 months ago. I was done with her, I was done with the marriage, and I couldn't care less about anything else. I completely ended my involvement in the relationship and started making plans for my divorce and new life. As much as I could, I attempted to avoid my wife's company by staying away from the house while she was at home. My role in the dialogue would be non-existent, and if she were to ask me a question, I would just react with yes, no, maybe, or I don't know. Is it true that even the fees of the divorce counsel were made public? She had to have realized I was checked out and getting ready to divorce since she didn't say anything. Kids even approached me and inquired about what was going on, as if they were able to discern what was going on. I even gave the infamous "we both love you" speech at a wedding. Various phrases such as "it's not your fault that grown-ups can't always be together" and similar phrases are used. She was in the room and must have overheard me chatting to the kids, don't you think? She didn't say anything and didn't raise her voice in opposition, so I perceived her silence as assent. To be more specific, I bumped into a girl I used to know in high school before I met my wife a few days ago. We'd always had a difficult dynamic in our relationship. I believe it has something to do with chemistry. Even though we were flirting and being touchy all the time, we never did anything about it. We'll call her Monica since she resembles me of the actress Monica Bellucci. When Monica and her family relocated before I had the resolve to intervene, it was something I regretted for a long time. However, I was inexperienced, self-conscious, and dumb at the time. Actually, it's been a long time since I've given much consideration to Monica. It's been a long time since I've seen her. However, the animosity that existed between us was immediately apparent when we first met, even more than I remembered, and communication was straightforward. After telling her about the difficulty with my STBXW, she graciously extended the invitation. I told her I wanted to be officially divorced before we started dating, and she agreed. Monica was certain that I would not cheat, so she provided me with her phone number and asked me to call her as soon as I completed the tasks I had been assigned. She told me that she had never married and that she was looking forward to reestablishing contact with me. I couldn't have been happier. I was obligated to approach my wife and apply for separation and divorce as a result of the incident. When I arrived at my house, I was thrilled and immediately sat down to wait for my wife. When I invited her to sit down and informed her that we needed to talk, I was honestly beaming like a loony-tongued fool. I confessed to her that I had been aware of her adultery for a long time and that I believed she was aware that I was aware. The fact that I had checked out of our relationship for the previous 3-ish months didn't appear to bother her in the least, particularly considering the fact that I had checked out of our relationship for the prior 3-ish months. Consequently, I informed her that I was ready to begin dating and move on with my life. With that, I brought my comments to a close. Don't you think it's past time for us to get a divorce now that everything has been considered? Her remark came as a huge surprise to me. She burst into tears, and it wasn't just any type of crying. Something like it had never been heard before. It sounded like a soul-cracking, furious scream. In her justifications, she begged for second chances and claimed that the affair had been completely pointless. We may be able to correct this situation if we seek counseling, etc. I was taken aback since I had anticipated her to be happy. I assured her that she didn't have to feel awful about going on a date with this particular gentleman. He is unquestionably more important to her than her family. What happens if he isn't? After all, Why did you decide to accompany him in the first place? She had to have sensed that things were going to become ugly for us at some point. She couldn't really be so naive, can she? I inquired as to if she believed we needed to repair our family or our marriage. She responded affirmatively. That would have been 7 months ago, prior to her having an affair with another man. It's too late now. The system is irreparably damaged. I was under the impression that we were having no problems in our marriage. The fact that she didn't talk to me and that I'm not a mind reader meant that I couldn't figure out what the issue was. Since the beginning of her courtship with the other person, she must have had a nagging feeling that something was wrong or that something was missing. Is there anything so horrible that just talking to me won't be enough to repair it? She couldn't have been satisfied with our children growing up in a broken household if anything had been so insufficient or inappropriate. If this is not the case, why are you doing it? I explained clearly and gently that there is no way for her to make up for the misery and suffering she has caused me over the past 7 months, and that there is no way for her to make up for the agony and suffering she has caused me over the previous 7 months. That which brought me to this state of indifference was the anguish she imposed on me in the first place. Or, to put it another way, I loathe her guts. I'm only trying to be nice for the sake of our capacity to co-parent our children in the future. Because no one who cared even a little bit for someone else would put them through this kind of anguish. I told her that I didn't believe she ever cared about me. In the way in which she betrayed them, they would never do the same. She has no worth or credibility when she tells me she loves me, yet her actions indicate another sin in a clear manner. At this point, she had become completely incoherent, and I couldn't make any sense of what she was saying or how she was feeling. In the end, it was necessary for me to contact her sisters since everything was a jumbled mess, because I wasn't going to be able to look after her. After I described what was going on to her sister, she was picked up and taken away. The fact that they were no longer there brought me enormous peace. For the first time in 7 months, I could finally breathe. I'm not sure what I'm looking for on this website. Surely she must have been aware of the fact that something like this would occur, and she must also have desired it. She can't possibly be that naive as to assume that her actions and the decisions she made are appropriate. Was there any possibility of anything other than divorce and a destroyed family? She is beautiful and educated, and our marriage was going well until she started having an affair with another man. Is it true that I've embraced the fact that life changes and moved on from that experience? Now she's behaving as though she had feelings for me. Is it possible that she wants us to remain married and have a family? What could possibly be her motivation for being embroiled in such a huge trauma at this time in her life? What could she possibly benefit from this situation? She couldn't possibly have expected us to try to make amends at this point in time, could she? Would she be able to pull it off? Do you think this is some kind of ruse? I'm absolutely baffled as to what it is. I have a lot of evidence of her adultery, and I live in a European country, so she will not be entitled to alimony or anything like that. Is it possible that this is the case? Is she concerned that I may expose her? Is it possible that this is the case? The reason why she does this is because she wants me to feel sorry for her and hence not inform anybody about what she did. Perhaps she is concerned that I will become his wife since her AP is married. Just can't seem to get my brain around it. Regardless, I just wanted to get this off my chest. I had hoped that printing it would make more sense, but I'm still as bewildered as I was when I started my ranting spree.